Bad Batch is back, and we got a lot of questions tonight. That's all I can come up with.
It's been a while since we've heard this song.
This will be the last time we hear this version.
True.
And the people listening will be hearing the first version before you, or the new version before you.
Oh, sad. Or at the same time, because I'll watch it right away.
Well, we should I'm going to give a little pause between the music and this so I can put the new clip in. Hey everyone, welcome back to another Bad Batch-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And we are back with Bad Batch Season 3, Episode 1, Confined, Episode 2, Paths Unknown, and Episode 3, Shadows of Tantus. Yep, so if you're listening to this, we are doing all 3 episodes in this single podcast episode. One,
Yep.
because we don't have time to do it any other day, so really, and we want to get it done because it's 3 episodes and we can't be delaying it too much because we need you guys to listen to the breakdowns before episode 4 comes out next week. So
Facts.
that's why we're trying to go fast, but
And they kind of all tie together ish.
well, 2 of the episodes are
First
basically
2,
one, sorry,
or the first
1
and the
and
third
3,
one.
which is kind of weird that they
I
should
kind
have
of like it
started
like that,
with
though.
episode 2 and kind of like added a little cliffhanger to that, but then go to what we got for 1 and 3 as like a set story, but whatever. Or they could have just
it kind of gives you like a perspective of how long Omega's been in jail for the second one, though.
Yeah, but
You kind of
or they could have just done 1 and 3 as just a 2 episode premiere and just had those 2 today instead of 3.
But the second one wouldn't be as dramatic because you already knew that Omega escaped.
That is true. Spoilers.
So it's kind of the way they did it makes sense.
Or they could have just started, I guess, or they could have started with episode 2.
Or they could have just made it one big one episode.
Yeah, an hour and a half long movie.
Yeah. I mean, they did that for season 1.
That would have been fun. But yes, so I don't think there's really much any announcements, really. There's just a rumor that Acolyte is coming out June 5th. It's just a rumor that came out today. So maybe that'd be true. So after Bad Batch is done, we got 4 weeks, 4 or 5 weeks, 4 weeks or whatever. 4 episodes of Empire Radio, and then on the 5th week would be Acolyte. So,
And hopefully that drops Tuesday.
well, the 5th is a Wednesday. So
yeah, but you know what I mean. Like,
the early premiere or early release of it. Like
yeah, if we can get the early release of it, then you guys will for sure get a watch party. Right. Not then it's going to be like a crunch time.
And I would like to do
reaction
videos because it's going to be all new stuff. And I didn't do any reactions for these first 3 episodes of Bad Batch. I just wasn't feeling up to it. So I might start doing it next week. We'll see.
And I didn't do watch parties for those first 3 episodes, and I probably won't do it for this show. Maybe the finale.
For the finale, you probably want to do.
I'll probably do the finale.
Yeah.
But besides that, it's just the timing. I got home and I had to binge 3 episodes before getting on here, so.
Yeah. All right. Well, so tonight what we're going to do, since there's 3 episodes 1 and 3 are one story.
Mm-hmm.
So we're going to do those first, and then we'll finish with episode 2. So we're going to go a little out of order. Classic Star Wars. We're going out of order just to make things more confusing, but we can't really discuss like 1 and then like talk about like we don't know what happened in episode 3 because it would just sound weird. So we're just going to do it together just because it's easier. And hopefully I'll make us go a little bit quicker. And then we'll finish with episode 2. Cool.
Let's do it.
Well, for the episodes 1 and 3, Drew, what were your overall thoughts?
I liked it. It was good. Like, I like turning on episode 1. I was like, I forgot how much I liked this show. Like watching the recap. Like I'm like,
It was a good recap.
it was a really good recap,
That
and
was,
I feel
like,
like
most
there's certain
recaps kind
angles
of,
too that were different.
I don't know.
It felt
I didn't notice that. I think it was
oh,
just the way they like
sliced it.
they had like the narration over it a little bit with like Hemlock, and they're just
It
doing
was a
the
really good
cool
recap.
music and all that jazz.
So yeah, I got pumped for it. I like these 2 episodes a lot. I thought they're really good storytelling in the sense of like you kind of didn't know what was really going on, but you kind of figured. You kind of still don't really know what's going on, but you kind of know what's going on.
Right.
Um, it's I don't know. I don't have anything really negative to talk about with it. I enjoyed it.
Cool. Well, I really like these episodes 1 and 3. I thought they were phenomenal. I really like that it was very slow pace, and it was like,
Mm-hmm.
I've said a million times, show me, don't tell me when it comes to storytelling. And it was
Yeah.
just we were just watching.
Yep.
Like there wasn't a lot of talking, like especially in that first episode, and we were just watching and trying to understand the story and paying attention to like, oh, she has long hair now. Oh, there's 150 scratches on the wall now, and then by the end of the episode, there's
Did you pause
164.
it, Jeremiah, and
I did
count?
pause it.
Did you really?
I did pause it. So it
Oh
goes
my gosh,
the
this
first time
boy.
we see the wall, there's 21, then
Mhm.
150, and then it ends with 164. So she's been there that
Wow.
long by the end of the second
Which is
or the
like what?
third episode.
How many
So
months is that?
so like 5.5,
Almost 6 months.
over 5 months. So,
Jeez.
but yeah, I really, and the thing is, I was like, what about this like is making me like this so much? And one, I think it's one, we always like the music, but like
Mhm.
it reminded me, the music and like the slow pacing reminded me of Andor.
Yep.
I was like, I didn't
Yeah.
like pinpoint it until like I think the second time I watched the episodes was like when
You
I was like,
watched it
this
more
is,
than once?
yeah, dude. I went to the grocery store last night, so I didn't have to go out today. I could just stay home and
Dang.
today and just watch
Eat
it.
all your groceries?
Oh, dude, I did laundry today, and like I put my laundry in, and someone was already using the dryers. I'm like, that's fine because the dryers. By the time I'm done with my laundry, the dryers will be empty. They'll be empty. Gone. I can use
Hopefully.
it. All 3 dryers are being used because on my floor there's 3 washing machines and 3 dryers. And I'm like, perfect time. Whatever. I'll go. I'll wait an extra 5 minutes to go, just to make sure. For an hour after the dryer, I was waiting, and no one came, so I had to go to a different floor and use the dryer. I was so mad.
Probably because they put it in the dryer before they went to work.
No, because this was like at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. Like you don't
Oh.
do that. Like do your laundry and then not come back for 10 hours. And
You don't know. Don't judge people. I used to do that when I
I'll judge
lived in
people all I
apartments.
want when it comes to using
I
up
used to do
my.
that all the time when I lived in apartments. Like, oh, gotta throw this in the dryer because I put it in the night before and go to sleep, wake up, throw it in the dryer, and then go to work.
You're a terrible human being.
Yeah, I know.
That is terrible.
And
And then like I
then,
don't want to be like the guy that like takes it and like puts it on top of the dryer because
oh
then
yeah, you
if
never
I'm
want to be
doing
that
that
guy.
and as I'm doing it they come in to get it,
Oh yeah, it's
then
embarrassing.
that's just scary. I don't want to deal with
This
that.
is awkward, and you never know what, dude. You never know what they got going on in there either. It's
Yeah,
yeah,
I don't
it's
want to
not
find
fun.
someone
All you
have
college
someone's
kids listening to
underwear in my
this,
hand as they're
yeah,
walking.
all you college kids that are listening to this, you guys understand this struggle in life for sure. It's one of those things where you're or as soon as you get done, you like go to grab your own clothes. They're like, "Why are my clothes out on top?" Yeah, it's awkward.
Yep.
Awkward.
So yeah, so I really like these episodes 1 through the Omega episodes because it was just like for what over a year now or around a year now we've been waiting. Like what happened? Like where did she go? Like what are they doing on Mount Tantus and
Mm-hmm.
what's going on with Crosshair and Hunter and Wrecker going to do? Because I was like, for some reason, I was thinking, okay, Hunter and Wrecker, they're going to be with Echo and Rex. And I'm like, no, it's just those two left.
That's sad, dude. When I
I was
saw
like, dang.
in episode 2, when I saw them, it was just them two. I was like, something's off.
Yeah, I was like,
This feels
this
weird.
felt like it was just, they're just not where they're supposed to be. So, but hopefully, sometime during a season, they get Crosshair back and Omega. They're all together. Tech is still alive. They get him and they get Echo, and it's like the 5 Bad Batch plus Omega.
They all die together.
Back together. Get the band back together again. But yeah, I really like this episode. So
Yeah, me too. I thought they were really good. Like you said, it kind of did feel like Andor. Now you say that.
yeah,
yeah.
All right. Well, we might as well go scene by scene really quick. So, also animation.
Perfect. Even better than last season.
Dude, it was so good. Like the night scene, like in the thing, like dude, the lighting was just how they did the lighting. It just looked photorealistic in so many parts.
Yeah, it was good. It was pretty epic. It was so much nicer too than watching it on my monitor. When I watched it on my TV this time, I was like, oh, this is super nice.
Yeah. All right. So episode starts up. Some Imperial shuttle is coming into Mount Tantus during a storm. They get shocked by lightning and they crash when they call for help. And then it's raining, and then they hear a monster. And Dr. Hemlock was like, well, if they're outside the perimeter, there's nothing we can do. They're dead. So they just get killed. Like that, okay. And I really like Dr. Hemlock.
That's a bad guy?
Yeah, like last year or last season, like we liked him, but he was only there for like the last few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But I really like him as a villain.
Yeah, and you can tell, like, I mean, there's parts in the next episode, episode 3, where you can kind of tell what his motivation is a little bit, which I really enjoyed.
And like he reminds me of Thrawn, this way he talks. Very calm and calculated. Now he's not, obviously no one's ever going to be as analytical as Thrawn is, but I just felt like he's that same tone.
He had parts of that in him, but then he also had parts of what's his name from Rogue One?
Krennic?
Yeah, Krennic, where he was like antsy, like, all right, well, I guess we're gonna kill Omega now. Like, you know what I mean? Like he had like that.
Right. He was like, he didn't care. He just only cared about the science. He didn't care about like everyone was expendable.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as he
can felt move forward. Like Krennic, kind of like on the edge of his seat, kind of. Yeah. So, yeah, it was good.
So yeah, and so then after this, you know, opening crash scene or whatever, it goes straight to Omega in her room / dorm / cell, whatever you want to call it.
I would say cell.
Yeah, whatever. It's I don't think there was any buttons on the inside, so she couldn't leave on her own.
Exactly. She had a bathroom in there.
She had a good view.
She did have a better view, and she was in the basement with all the other people.
And so it made you dripping faucet for like 6 months. Like, come on!
Oh my gosh, they kept showing that thing. I'm like, is that how she's gonna escape?
That would have been cool if like somehow she was able to use that toilet to get out. But
yeah,
yeah. So she's in her cell, and immediately she gets greeted by Emery, which is it's a female clone. So there's clones, sisters.
Her sister.
Which we got that reveal at the end of last season's finale of her. She's a female clone. And so they're off to work. And so Omega has her own routine and responsibilities. And we see this on repeat, you know, this episode and third episode. She kind of follows the same routine every day, which I really like. It's just the mundanity. It's like this is how the Empire works. That everything is just calculated and scheduled. And she's just there for this purpose.
Kind of like the Andor jail stuff.
Yeah, definitely.
Like,
yep. And so, you know, one of the first things that she does is she gets a blood sample every day And so we see her first one, which was like, was it 20? What 21 days was the first thing. I think I said 16 earlier, but it's 21. 21 was the first. So this is like 3 weeks in. She gets her first blood sample taken, and she was just told that it's just mandatory, but it's also just like routine, standard thing everyone goes through. She's like, okay, whatever. But when she brings the blood samples to Nala Se was a little disturbed that they took Omega's thing, and she like discards it in like the thing. Like, I don't know if it gets sent to like an incendiary thing or whatever, but
It blew up in the bottom of the trash.
yeah, it was like like a pneumatic tube thing or something. It seemed like that when she puts it in, it just sucks it away. But Nala Se was very concerned that they were going to test her. I was like, why? Like, what's in the blood that she doesn't want the Empire to know about? And so immediately we find out that they are trying to do reproduction of a genetic M count. Now, if you remember your Star Wars, we get the phrase M count in Mandalorian season 2.
Mm-hmm.
When they go back to Navarro and there's an Imperial base and they find like cloning tubes and stuff, and not Hemlock, Pershing, Dr. Pershing is the references M count. And so we haven't gotten any confirmation on what M stands for, but everyone assumes it's midichlorian count because apparently they can't say the word midichlorian because people hate midichlorians because blah, 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 whatever.
But we know what they're saying.
We know what they're talking about. So a reproduction of a genetic M count is what is referenced here and in, throughout kind of like the story with Omega in the next episode, third episode. And so what exactly this means, we can kind of speculate, and we'll get into that a little bit more in third episode, but it's all coming together. All this stuff is coming together. Episode 9 all the way at the end, we're kind of moving towards that with Mandalorian, with Bad Batch, all this story. We're coming together. And so we'll, hopefully by the end of this Bad Batch season, we'll get a lot of answers to our questions, but who knows? But after this, we get Lurka hounds. What do you think about these Lurka hounds?
I was indifferent. I don't know. Did it seem like a typical Star Wars kind of dog? I don't know.
Would you like a Lurka for a pet?
No.
No. What about Batcher? Gets
Batcher's
domesticated.
cool.
He seemed like a fun dog.
Dope. Yeah.
Oh, she. I kept thinking he, but she. Lurka hound. Batcher. Batcher just sounds like
a guy's name.
Batcha. With her accent.
Batcha.
But yeah, so there's all these all these Lurka hounds they're like called in. They have like harnesses on with like tags on it or
collars,
like collar things. And Omega is just tasked with feeding them every day. And
it seems like they're there to protect the outer wall.
Yeah, so the Lurkas are there. They're kind of like security against wildlife because there's a lot of wildlife that is dangerous out there. So they have these Lurka hounds kind of surveying, lurking around the perimeter of Mount Tantus, protecting against any threats that would come towards the mountain. So that's what they're there for. But when Omega gets to Batcher's cage kennel thing, he hasn't eaten any of his food.
No, she hasn't.
It's just piling up. It's a big pile, and did I say he?
Like
she just doesn't eat it. So what we see about through these episodes is Omega, she's walking around with like a lunchbox, and she's been sneaking hay, putting it in the bottom of her lunchbox. But then she's also been taking her food and giving it to Badger. And it's basically space chicken nuggets. So, and that's the only thing that Badger likes to eat.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so that's cool. And I was like, okay, this dog monster thing Hound is definitely gonna play a role moving forward. And based on what happens at the very end of episode 3, it was even cooler than what I thought we were gonna get. So
Yeah.
um, that's cool. But then part of after she goes to the kennels, one part of her routine is to go to the holding cells for other clones, and she tracked down Crosshair. So he's just kind of laying there. Well, no, we should mention she would walk. She walks by him every morning.
Yes, it's like a routine.
Yeah. So which I didn't. So like we were like, oh, the first time they cross paths when we watched the trailer, Crosshair is gonna see her and then like get like motivated to find a way out.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't like that at all. Like he's completely defeated and hopeless that he can ever escape or have any purpose anymore. So like he doesn't care to see Omega. He's basically just take care of yourself. Don't worry about me. Um,
I also think he doesn't feel like the batch will bring him back.
right. So he doesn't feel like to be accepted. But Omega, the whole time, she's like, "You're one of us. You're part of the team. You're my brother. Like I care." But
Yeah,
like,
because there's a part in that, like, I believe it's episode 1, where he's like, "Why do you care? Like, I deserve to be in here."
yeah, and then she's like, "None of us deserve to be here." I think that's the
I think that's the third one.
third one. But that's a good line
Mm-hmm.
because when she said that, the kind of camera went back to the camera. The camera went back to him, and he was like, "Oh, dang,
Yeah.
she's right." Um, but yeah, so Omega's like, well, I'm trying to find a plan to get out of here. There's always a weak point in every compound, every building. Like, I'm just gonna eventually find that weak point, and then I'll formulate a plan off of that. And then, but Crosshair's like, just don't worry about me. I'm not gonna help you. Just take care of yourself, basically.
Mm-hmm.
So then this is when we see her doing a scratch thing on the wall in her cell, and it's 21 days. But then it jumps ahead, and she has her long hair. So it jumps quite a bit because right around that time we see her scratches on the wall, and there's 150 days. So that's a long time. A long time
Yeah.
to grow your hair too. So I feel like her hair grew a lot longer in 4 months than 4 or 5 months than it normally would, but I don't know. We'll see.
It's cartoons.
It's a cartoon. Yep.
She's a clone.
I guess they have to over exaggerate it to really show.
Well, because for a guy, they would just throw a beard on you.
There's that.
Like, they do that with all, like, guys that have been in there for a while that just slowly have a beard coming out. And
Yeah,
that was
so
their
that's
version of
actually a
that.
good point. Like, how do you progress time on a teenage girl?
Just grow her hair out.
Grow her hair out, I guess. But yeah, so she goes through the routine again, does the blood sample. Now let's say throws it away. Oh, I should say like during this, maybe it was just the third episode, but like it would always go to the blood crank thing, like spool,
Yeah,
like
there's like a
going in a
wheel.
circle. Like it's always just showing that, like and it's like every single time it goes to a new vial, it drips a couple drops of someone else's blood into this
Mm-hmm.
thing, and so it's like I can't remember. I know it was for sure the third episode. I don't know if it was also doing it in this episode too, but we'd always see this lab with the blood samples, and Nalase would discard Omega's blood sample, all this stuff, and so. But eventually, we get back to the Lurka Hound kennels, and she goes to feed Batcher, and Batcher's hurt. He has a cut on his arm, leg thing, and the droid was like, "Oh yeah, she got hurt on patrols last night, so that's sad." And Omega's like, well, help her. And he's like, sorry, I'm not a medical droid. It's not my programming. He just walks away. I was like, oh, dang. He was like, if he doesn't heal, then she'll be marked for termination. Like, dang it. Don't come after the dog. Like, what the heck? But then Omega just grabs a med kit off the wall and puts back to goop, I assume, on the cut. Which I feel like this is the first time we've ever seen a med pack like that in Star Wars. I don't
Yeah,
know.
for
I don't
sure.
think we've ever seen. I feel like we've seen spray. Have we seen like a spray before? Like a back to spray on?
Yeah, it's always been a spray.
I'm trying
Like
to think of a
anytime.
specific time that we've seen it. Can't remember. Oh, well, we got Mando season 1 finale
Mm-hmm.
when he sprays with the back to spray when he's dying on at the end. Um, there's that. But yeah, so um, yeah, and so then after this, Omega goes to Crosshair, part of a routine, and like, yeah, Batcher's hurt, blah blah blah, and Crosshair gets kind of upset, like, what's your plan? Like, you don't have a plan. You're just doing all this random stuff. Like, who cares about the dog? And um, oh, it is here. I have it in my notes. This is when he says, "I belong here," and Omega says, "None of us belong here."
Yeah,
So
that
just
part was
continuing.
intense.
Yeah, so they're arguing like about this basically, and Crusher's like, "Worry about yourself. Don't sacrifice things to save me." And she's basically like, "I'm not leaving without you, Crosshair. Like, don't even like. I'm not even gonna consider leaving you behind."
Mm-hmm.
Because he directly says, "If I was in your position, I would not hesitate to leave you behind." Like, dang, dude. Like, which is kind of weird because last season during that snow episode, like he makes that threat to the guy named Mayday. He's like, yeah, like I'm not gonna take a if you get hurt or something, you're just I forget how he phrased it, but you're just empty baggage or something like that. But then like he ends up saving him anyway. Like he had to change a heart, learning from Mayday of like being committed to people and like Crosshair had a change in his heart and mind about the value of other clones and soldiers and
Mm-hmm.
it's like it was kind of weird him saying that to her, but I think it was also just him trying to motivate her to like not sacrifice herself for him. He was just kind of just trying to discourage it, not because he was selfish, but because he wanted her what was best for her, but didn't want to make it sound like that. Maybe I don't know. Um, and then we get an inspection. She gets a random inspection in her cell in the morning. 2 commando droids go in and basically just open her lunchbox because she's been getting hay from the kennels and making a doll to like mimic the one that she has that was Wrecker's doll thing. Um, so they confiscate that and like, you can't have personal items, blah blah blah. You know the rules, blah blah blah. But why do they need 2 commando droids or
I think
commando?
that's just they're just going through all of them, which how you know that it's a jail. It's not a room. It's not a like go back to your quarters. Like no, it's a jail because they have random inspections and dump her stuff everywhere. She can't have a hay doll that she made. Like why is that a big deal?
Right. But I guess that's just the Empire. They want like everyone to be the same, and it's kind of like even like in Rebels, like with Agent Callus. There's an episode when he gets stranded with Zeb. Like he starts out like in his room, and there's like it's just nothing there. He has that thing with Zeb where he's trapped with Zeb, and they fight their way out, and then he gets left behind, and Empire takes him, and he goes back to his cell, and there's just nothing in there. So it's kind of like people are not meant to have like personality or
Mm-hmm.
because I guess like with clones got their personalities, individual personalities, and individual traits and stuff, and that kind of made them like the emperor questioned their loyalty because they would think for themselves.
Well, especially after what the emperor made them all do,
Right.
because once that thing started wearing off,
Then
then
they're being disobedient to orders, and
yeah, then it got dicey for the emperor, essentially.
so it's basically can't have personal items because it creates people to like not follow orders and
Hmm.
have other motivations and goals and stuff like that. So that's what I'm guessing is happening. Um, but then we have a scene with Nala Se and Dr. Hemlock. So they go to a heavily guarded place. There's a bunch of commando troopers, and they're protecting this door and open the door, and there's like all these layers of like laser gates or whatever that they have to go through one by one. Like, well, what's behind there? Like, well, we won't get that till next episode, but like what's behind it? What's the big project? What's the work for? Blah blah blah. We don't see it until next episode, but they come out of it, and there was a successful transfer of the M count or something like that. But
Hmm.
Hemlock was like, but
Took too long.
but there was diminished M count, and they need to like they talk about having like the kind of like the host or like they kept referring to like specimens. So it's
Hmm.
like that adds more questions, but like it's like you have to like do this midichlorian M count transfer without diminishing um the original host's like minimum. Like you're supposed to have at least that or more when
Yeah.
this transfer is done. But I guess this was the first time that like any transfer was successful. So like Nala Se saw this as a success, but Dr. Hemlock was like, well, it's not good enough. And like I'm more patient with you than I should be, but like if I tell the Emperor this, like he might not be as eager to take these small steps. So basically just threatens to like keep getting better because this isn't good enough. Um, and then after this, we go back to the kennels, and Batcher is super happy to see Omega smiling, tongue
Hmm.
hanging out, panting, and like wagging his. Do he have tails? I don't think he has tails, but he's basically waving his tail if he had one. But then the droid was like, the dog is marked for termination, but maybe like, no, the wound's healed, blah blah blah. I was like, yeah, but the domestication basically of your interaction with the hound has caused it to be not a good soldier in a sense out there patrolling. So therefore it's to be terminated. And Omega's like, nope, not today, droid. And they start kind of like fighting. He's trying to kill her with like a electro staff type thing because she's trying to like steal the data pad, and she ends up using the data pad to drop something heavy on top of the droid. But the droid already called for an alert, security alert, and so Omega, she's able to release the tracker harness thing off Batcher and open the gate so she can run out free. And then when Omega does this, Dr. Hemlock is there, and like that's not very compassionate of you because a domesticated animal out in the wild like this can't fend for itself. So you basically just sentence it to death. Well, it was going to die anyway, so it's still better. But
Yeah.
um,
Either way, it was gonna die. Like that argument was so dumb when he said that. I'm like,
yeah.
not how this
Um,
works.
and he's just like, you can't have any um, emotion or sentiment in our work. Like, you can't have basically kind of like attachments. Like, you can't have attachments, which is like a Jedi thing,
Hmm.
which is just kind of interesting that the Empire is against the Jedi, but they're also against attachments, also just like the Jedi, which is interesting. Um, but it's basically don't have any emotional sentiments, and like Omega's like, well, you're not gonna punish me because like Nala say won't do work if you hurt or kill me. And he's like, and he starts laughing. Well, all I gotta do is threaten Crosshair, and then so like if I threaten Crosshair, you're not gonna do anything because you don't want me to hurt Crosshair. So,
Yep.
which is an interesting way of. We always see the whole thing in storytelling of like, oh, you threaten this person so that they stay in line so they don't hurt this other person or whatever. But like now it's like 3 persons deep, so it's like now let's
Yeah.
say Omega, so it's like the person that's there to like keep one person in check is being kept in check by another person, which is
Well, and it also
interesting.
showed you that he was keeping an eye on her, and he knew that she was going to go visit him every day.
Yeah, I think he's aware, definitely
Because
aware.
the way he said it, he's like, well, your friend in the attention level, and then he said like his code name,
Yeah,
and then she was like, Crosshair.
yeah.
So
So
like they knew.
yeah,
Yeah.
so Emery basically tells Omega to go back to her cell. Blah blah blah. That's when we see 164 days marked off on the wall. And Emery comes back to check on her and gives her the doll that she made out of the straw back. All right, so Emery is kind of not following orders, but you can tell she's always been concerned about Omega, and we don't really know fully what Emery's motivations are and what she going on with her, but she does have a soft spot for Omega, obviously because they're sister clones. But I wonder if she has like a planned out agenda anyway. I'm sure it'll be shown to us throughout the season, but I'm intrigued about what Emery is got up her
You think she has something up
sleeve.
her sleeve?
I feel like there
Or do
has
you
to be
think she
something.
doesn't? And then when she sees what's really going on, then she decides to.
Well, she does protect next episode does protect Omega by saying don't kill her because her blood is the key. Which obviously she's devoted to the research going on, whatever they're trying to do. But like, I feel like she's also trying to protect Omega somehow. I don't know,
But she
but
also didn't let Omega leave.
right because like she's trying to like play a long game, I think, whereas
Mm,
Omega's trying to do a short game, trying to get out, even though it's been 5 months. But Omega just wants to get out with Crosshair, but
yeah.
Emery, I feel like, is understands the stakes of what's the bigger picture of things because she knows a lot more about the facility and what's going on there than Omega. So there's that. But the episode ends with Batcher standing on top of the crashed ship from the beginning of the episode, howling in the night, and that's it.
Yep.
It was a very good episode. Well, might as well jump into episode 3 because it's the same story.
Same story.
Same story. Um,
Same day, kind of.
I think it pretty much episode 3 takes place a day or two after. Because I don't remember. I didn't remember
Did you count
seeing.
again?
I
Is
didn't
it
count
is
again.
it 166?
Something like that, probably. But yeah, Omega is back in the cell, but then she's leaves again, does a routine. But then, like even I noticed before she said it, but there was like a lot more troopers patrolling the hallways, tons of commando troopers, um, and we see Crosshair, getting escorted out of his area. But then we get a little teaser in the background when he's leaving, there's a guy in an all black thing with his face covered, which is the same armor slash attire that the assassin clone had from last season that we were, which was also in the trailer that I forgot that this
Yeah, they
the
don't really.
assassin clone from season 2 had that same armor. So it's another assassin clone that's in charge of part of what's going on with the clones there. Um, but yeah, so Omega notices there's extra troopers around and they asks um, Emery about what's going on. She's like, I don't know. I'll know something if Hemlock tells me because this is they're doing the blood draw thing again here. But Hemlock comes in with Nala Say and says there's a guest coming. Like, ooh, who's coming? Um, and how Nala Say is going to be working with Hemlock and this guest. And Hemlock says, "All right, Emery, continue the lab work today while we're gone." And Nala says, "Like crap," because the blood samples are there, and if Emery puts her blood in the computer, then Omega's in danger. So she basically, a commando clone comes in and is talking with Hemlock, and Nala Say sneaks over to Omega and is like, "You can't allow this to happen. If they test your blood, you're going to be in danger. You have to escape. You take my data pad, get away out, take a shuttle, and get out of here. You got to flee because if they do your blood, we're screwed." So it's like, okay, so now we know for sure that like something in her blood is going to trigger something immediately.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's about midichlorians, the question, like we've always had this question ever since season 1, like is Omega force sensitive? And so like if her blood is good with like transferring midichlorian counts and like all this stuff, like is she force sensitive? And that's like her special unique thing. I don't know.
If she is, she's not really great at showing us.
Oh, she doesn't. But if she doesn't know, she doesn't know. So like she wouldn't know how to use the force. Like
Yeah.
she has no
But
training.
like my thing is like they've been working on all these clones and taking all the blood from all these clones. Like, is that saying that Boba Fett is force sensitive?
You mean Jango Fett?
Well, I'm saying Boba.
I don't know because there's something else with the clones in general that is supposed to facilitate this midichlorian thing. Which, if this was implemented from the start when they commissioned the clone army, like Palpatine has been working on doing this the whole time,
Mm-hmm.
even before the Clone Wars even started with clones, like that somehow their blood would be involved in his cloning or someone else's cloning in the future with midichlorians. So it's like, what's the deal with the clones? Was there a dual purpose there? I don't know. Um, but like Omega was definitely Nalase was kind of doing her own thing with Omega,
Yeah.
and so Nalase did Nalase perfect making a person force sensitive, and she succeeded with Omega. I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you think we'll get an answer to like what's so unique about Omega's blood, or do you think it's just
I
done like?
think we will.
Do you think it? Do you think she is force sensitive now based on this information?
I don't know about that. Like, I don't know if it's her metachlorine count that they're counting and that she's a success, or is it she is because they're dropping the blood in to all the
Right.
tubes.
Right.
Is it that she's able to transfer because she's so close to the original clone DNA that she's able to transfer her her cloning capability, like her clone blood is able to transfer the midichlorian count.
Maybe like it's
Like if what if the blood that they're dropping into all those valves is Grogu's blood?
Grogu's, because Grogu, we do know, took blood sample, like they used blood samples from Grogu.
For a long time, and like we don't, they could have him already.
Right. So that was one of the things we were going to talk about later. We might as well talk about it now.
Yeah.
But do you think, in those tubes that Palpatine goes to see, we're jumping a gun, those armored test tube things, they open it up, but we don't see what's inside. Do we think they're trying to clone Grogu? Or do you think inside those tubes are just early Palpatine clones?
I think they're early Palpatine's clones.
Do you think they're using Grogu right now at this
I think
facility?
they're using. They could be. I don't know. It's either Palpatine's blood or it's Grogu's blood,
Right,
but they're trying to figure out how to clone Force and like the Force
right. Force users.
Force users. So, which makes me think that I think what it is that's her because she's so close to the original host of the clones of Jango Fett. And so like maybe because she was such a good clone, they're able to she's able to transfer the midichlorian count better.
Right.
So I don't know if it's necessarily that she's force sensitive. If anything, it might be that she's just a good host to be
That's
cloned.
that's an interesting thing. Her blood type is genetically modified enough to where it could receive that transfer
Mm-hmm.
and that might be an interesting way to look at it.
Which makes me think like, why didn't they ever try to find Boba? Because they know that Boba's out there.
Right.
And like, why aren't
But
they trying to
I
hunt down
think
Boba?
I think like Boba was kind of like Boba and Omega were both not really publicly known to the Republic,
Mm-hmm.
really, because like Boba was just part of Django's payment,
Yeah.
and
It was off the
you know,
books too, I
off
think.
the books basically, and he was with Django most of that movie, and then at Battle of Geonosis, Django gets killed, and then
Mm-hmm.
Boba's on his own,
Yeah.
and so like the Republic would have never known about him, even though like in the records he's noted because I think season one tech when he's going through records is like
He's
she's
alpha.
Omega and then he's Alpha, a
Yeah.
pure genetic replication of Jango Fett. So like it was in the records, but it was also like not important to the Republic. So
Yeah. I don't know. That's what I think maybe it's that. Because they were dropping someone's blood into these other vials.
right,
And then as soon as that one went in, it turned gold.
yep,
So makes me think like she's just the best host for transferring.
yeah, or maybe it's like once the blood is mixed, like then like it can multiply that blood because obviously if you're trying to like
Yeah.
you need more than just a little vial of blood to make a body run.
No.
Like
I
so
think
maybe
once they found out that was her, they need her.
like they can like once it's mixed, like they can grow that sample to be
Correct.
like enough for it to be transfused, and then that when that transfusion happens, you don't
'Cause
lose the midichlorian count.
yeah, and yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like it was a. That's what I think. It has to be that because they would just go find more Jedi then.
Right.
Like it has to be that she's able to. Her DNA is able to be cloned better than because they can't clone a clone out of a clone.
Right.
and it'd be pure clone.
Right. Because if we go back to season 3 of The Mandalorian, um, what's the
The
bad guy's name?
bald hair dude, the blonde hair, or the yeah, I
No,
know what you're talking
the
about.
guy Gus from Breaking Bad.
Yeah.
What's his name?
Oh, you're thinking of Moff Gideon?
Yeah, Moff Gideon. Yeah, like because he was the clones of himself were force sensitive.
Were they?
Yeah, because he's like he says that he wants that Mandalorian armor with
Mm-hmm.
force sensitive clones of himself, which is like the ultimate fighting machine, basically. Force sensitive Mandalorian,
Mm-hmm.
which is basically Grogu, but whatever. um, but like,
Just on the good side though, not the bad
so like,
side.
right. So I wonder if
Which
like
make so
if these clones that
I
they're
don't think it's Grogu then. It must be Palpatine. And here's why. Because Palpatine's alive.
Grogu's alive.
Correct. But the reason why they needed Grogu is because they're trying to find a host for Palpatine to go into. Like they were like draining Grogu of his blood essentially to get all the Mandalorian count out of him for the Force.
Right.
So
Because
like they wouldn't need that right now because Palpatine's still alive.
right, and so like there is reference in this third episode of Project Necromancer,
Mm-hmm.
which is necromancy is to raise someone from the dead. So like,
Yeah.
so we do know like, ultimately this project is about Palpatine's clones,
Yes.
but it's just all the details of how it all works and getting to that point.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
So maybe this one valve was enough to create Palpatine's son, who creates Rey later on.
could be
Like they only
because
get that one valve.
he would need to be born soon or made soon because
Yeah.
because she Ray would have been born around the time of the Mandalorian because she's
Correct.
or no like 5 years after the start of Mandalorian because she's 20 years old, but
So
there's
she's an 18.
no I think she's 20 because I think um five because the show is 5 years after episode 6
Mm-hmm.
and that's around the time Kylo Ren is born
Mm-hmm.
because he's 25 at the start of episode 7,
So
and
she's 20.
I think she's 20. So like so that means sometime after the Mandoverse story concludes is when Rey will be born. But
Mm-hmm.
that means her dad has to
But
find her
also there
mother.
could be 2 years in between there, so she could already be almost born.
Well, we don't really know because I'm guessing through the end of Ahsoka, I think that's probably 2 or 3 years from the start of Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
So we got probably 2 to 3 years until Rey is born, if I had to guess, based on the math. Because we have start of Mando to when she's born is 5 years, but we've only had at most 3 years pass so far in the storytelling. So I don't think she's born yet, but she's soon to be conceived and then born. But like my point is, she has to have a dad that's old
Star
enough
Wars
to.
math, you guys, it's rough out here.
But we need a Palpatine clone that's old enough to make a baby,
Yeah.
and
And I don't
so
think they're genetically
he didn't
fast.
seem super young like in the flashbacks that we get.
No.
So like he's probably this. You might be right that this one of these first successful like clones would be Rey's father,
Mm-hmm.
which
Would it be crazy if that valve was Rey's father? That one valve.
so then
And then
Omega is
crosshair valve that
Omega
didn't
is
work.
kind of like Rey's
Oh my
mother,
goodness.
kind of like,
No, grandma.
I guess grandma.
Yeah.
So Omega and Palpatine are Rey's
Parents. There you guys
grandparents.
heard it first.
This
You
is
guys
some
heard
freaky
this.
stuff here in Star Wars.
You guys heard it first. There you
But
go.
like, because the thing with that Rey's dad is that he was not force sensitive, so he's a failed
So maybe Rey's
clone.
dad is
This one that they mentioned,
the
the
one.
first successful
Yeah.
thing, but with a diminished thing, like
Yeah.
that could be.
Crosshair. It was Crosshair's blood.
Oh gosh. But like,
No, Snoke is Crosshair's blood. That's why he has a scar.
oh,
There you go.
maybe. I gotta go back to see if there's like the crosshair thing on. Oh, how did we miss this?
We're like, yeah, because they say like they found out that Crosshair wasn't valuable like right away.
Right.
Oh no, we knew he wasn't valuable. No, not Crosshair. So like, he was Snoke.
I don't know. But yeah,
Hey,
this whole thing
start those
is,
memes right now, man.
so either way, this whole thing is moving towards Palpatine's clone
Yeah,
stuff.
I don't think Omega's force sensitive.
Right.
I mean, she could be. It could be one of the reasons why it was so successful. But it would, if she is, then for sure Boba Fett is then.
Well, you would think that, but I think Omega has, now let's say, did special things with Omega that she didn't do with Boba.
So do you think this whole time Omega or Nala Se could do this again? She's just like playing.
I think she's dragging her feet.
Yeah.
I think she knows how to do all this stuff and could get it done pretty quickly.
Which she knew right away that Omega would be
Right.
valuable.
Right.
So it makes sense.
I just hope we get all these. I hope it's all laid out. That we finally get all these answers, because I'll be mad if this show ends and we don't have a clear
No,
path.
we're gonna get a Rex show next, and they're gonna still talk about it for another 4 or 5 years.
Yep. Which I'm assuming once the show is done, we'll get an announcement for the next animated show.
Yeah, unless they're gonna just go with like Tales of the Jedi. And
well, because I'm pretty sure right after season 7 of Clone Wars was done is when they, like, within a month after it was done, they announced Bad Batch as its own show.
It was pretty quickly, and like we had that arc had nothing to do with Ahsoka in it.
Yeah,
it was just
we're like, why is this here?
Like, who cares about this at all right now?
Right, but I don't know.
Spam 5 years later, and you're like, oh, I get it.
But I'm assuming, this summer we'll get an announcement for the next animated show, which
hopefully it's not just, it could just be a High Republic show though.
I don't know, because there was a article that came out last week where one of the main guys, Rue or Rao, whatever his last name is, Brad maybe, I can't remember his first name, but someone interviewed him, like, so the Bad Batch story is loosely based off of what George Lucas wanted to also do. And he's like, this is the last, like, George Lucas inspired story.
Which is why it's good.
And it's also Dave Filoni. And
hashtag they gave it to Dave.
Also, a side note, I rewatched the first season of Avatar: The Last Airbender, which is the season that Dave Filoni worked on. And all the episodes that he directed
were the best.
Were the best ones. He even did the finale.
He did
the finale. And when Aang goes to the spirit realm in the finale, there's a giant wolf that's like 100 feet tall that watches in the background.
How did I miss that?
That's so funny.
The start of colliding.
It basically looks like a Loth wolf, but just like not as long of a snout. It's more of a rounder face, but It was definitely a wolf. I'm like, Dave Filoni, you son of a gun.
You've done it again.
But anyway, the Rue guy, he's like, this is the last George Lucas inspired thing, and they're like, well, what's in the future for like animated stuff? And he's like, well, he didn't really say anything, but like they were asked like, what about like an animated movie? And he'd be like, that'd be kind of cool, basically, but nothing. It's like I wonder if we'll get a Clone Wars style animation Star Wars movie.
Well, we already did get one of them.
What?
That's how they showed us the Clone Wars. The beginning, it was an animation movie.
Oh yeah, right. And so like I wonder if we'll, after Bad Batch, if they'll either announce the next animated show that's in this style of
Or just
animation,
give
or
us
if
a
they're gonna
movie.
give us an animated movie, which would be really cool.
I want a movie to go to theaters, but I also want a show because it's longer.
Right.
Kind of one of those hard things.
Well,
Which,
it'll be a trilogy of animated movies, right,
yeah.
Drew?
Which, if you guys are listening and you live in the Twin Cities, message us on Discord if you want to go see episode 1 on May 4th together. Just
That'd
let
be fun.
Jeremiah know in the Discord if you guys are
Yep.
listening.
I haven't officially announced it yet, like or asked people in Discord. So like I'll have to eventually make an
We should
announcement.
have like a little chat room for the people that want to go to it.
Yeah, I could do that.
Because me and Jeremiah are going to go. And if you guys show up, you guys show up. But it's going to be fun. Watching episode 1 in theaters again, it's going to be dope.
Yeah. All right, well. I'm basically 3 lines in to my notes. But we kind of discussed a lot of the stuff we'll be talking about anyway. So, so later on episodes when we get the Project Necromancer,
yeah.
but like when Nala Se is warning Omega to run, she's like, it's a project, and then she gets interrupted and doesn't finish it. So like at the beginning, you're like,
my soul.
I was like, Project what? What?
But also, it's like she might have not even said like the name. She would have said what it was, like what the project was actually doing.
But
so you're like, oh, this girl just want to choke that long neck and get it out of her.
You couldn't even reach her neck, dude. She's so like,
tall. Get over here.
Get a stool.
Give me that step ladder in the corner. Pull it out.
Yep.
What are you saying?
So, Omega goes to the lab where Emery is working with this blood samples, and she goes there to try and like take the sample, but doesn't get a chance. Emery puts it in the machine, but like it's literally like the last one. And so this whole episode, like every few minutes, you see it like crank to get closer and closer, going clockwise. And eventually, okay, crap, it's gonna get all the way to the top. It's gonna do the little thing, and then it's gonna like start beeping or something. So like this whole episode, you're getting tension, like what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? How's it gonna play out? But Omega, she grabs Nala Se's data pad and kind of starts doing her magic to like work her way out. But after this happens, space shot. A ship emerges out of hyperspace. And did you notice the music right away, Drew?
Yes, I'm pretty sure I did.
Because the same music that plays when we see Palpatine last season, when he arises out from the middle of the floor in the Senate chamber. And then like the Emperor's theme also plays with it too. But like immediately when I heard that, I'm like, it's the Emperor. This is the guest. This is the Emperor. I was like, we're not gonna get the Emperor till like episode 12 or something, episode 13 or something towards the very end. And we get episode 3. So he gets off the ship with 2. What are those guards called? Like just
Gamorrean guards?
No, not Gamorrean's that pig thing.
Oh yeah.
Well, you're thinking Praetorian guards, but are those considered Praetorian guards?
No, I think they're just royal guards.
Royal guards, that's what they're called?
I think so.
The red cloaks, dress things, which is this.
Chat, help us out. But I'm pretty sure.
I think, no, you're right. I think they're royal guards. But like we kind of see like Praetorian type guards fight in Rebels against Ezra,
Mm,
but like they're like in like the kind of like episode 8 Praetorian Guard armor when they fight, which I
yeah.
don't know, is that what these royal guards have are wearing underneath these red cloaks
I
or
think
not?
so. I think they have armor underneath.
But like we have yet to see these guys
Because
ever
I
fight
mean,
with their like cloak on. Like I
I
want to see
say
these guys in action.
they're. I was gonna say mention something, but I think it's in Legends. But there's a comic that has one of them is like force sensitive, and the comic, and like so you can buy that figure, and he's like all decked out with like double armor and like a vibro blade kind of staff thing.
Right.
But
So,
yeah, I'm pretty sure there armor underneath.
but we have yet to see him fight ever.
Yeah,
And I want to see it. It'd be kind of cool.
that would have been cool.
But Emperor Palpatine lands and Hemlock greets him, and Palpatine is like, "I'm
You
eager to
think
see."
she recognized Omega recognized it because of all the the troopers everywhere at first, or was it also because she didn't see Crosshair walk by her?
What are you talking about?
When Omega exited, and she's like, "Why is there? What is going on?" Like, did it? I think it hit her like something was a little fishy at first because she got out and Crosshair didn't walk past her. Like their daily
I thought they
routine.
did.
No, he didn't. Not at this time. He didn't.
So, what's your question?
Oh, I was just wondering if you think Omega first started realizing something was up when Crosshair didn't walk by her.
Well, she immediately noticed the extra troopers because she
Yeah,
asked Emery,
yeah.
and then
But I also noticed it because
when
Crosshair
Nala
didn't walk
Se is
by.
taken away, it's just Hemlock mentions that there's a guest coming, and then she
Mm-hmm.
asks Emery, "Do you know who the guest is?" And she's like, "I don't," or
Don't
whatever.
ask questions.
Basically, um,
I'm a weirdo.
but Palpatine says to Hemlock that he's eager to see the progress being made. Um, and they're on their way to like this heavily guarded lab or whatever. But like as they're walking there, Hemlock is talking about that there's many projects going on here, and a lot of them are um, centered around exotic animals and species. So like
Which you kind of get that in episode 2.
we do, which I feel like was something to do with uh, Sarlacc,
Yeah.
which is
I was gonna ask you about that.
weaponized Sarlacc, which is kind of
Yeah, it
crazy.
was like a weird
Um,
Sarlacc pit
but
thing.
mainly I was thinking of like the Zillo Beast.
Yeah, for sure. They're playing with
So like I
everything in
want to
there.
see what else is going on with the Zillo Beast. Are we gonna get more of that this season?
Do you
Maybe.
think there's all these creatures outside because they're there? Or do you think a lot of those crazy creatures outside is because they got out of the facility?
I was thinking that maybe they are out. They were made and put out there to see how they fight and react and live. And
Because that bear thing had like armor looking thing on it.
did, and it had like red eyes.
Yeah.
um.
Like a
So
grizzly
I think
bear with like full on
it's both.
Roman armor.
I
Think
think
it's a
they're
little bit of
creating
both.
these animals that are modified to see how well they can fight against these dangerous animals that are already on this planet.
Mm,
Which I think so. I think it's dual purpose. They're putting modified creatures in a highly dangerous creature-filled forest.
gotcha.
But it could go either way. But I don't know. I'm just intrigued about the Zillo Beast because
Everyone knows you are, Jeremiah.
everyone is like anyone who cares about the Zillo Beast is excited. Like everybody loves the
Yeah.
Zillo Beast story. But like, especially since that whole rumor of that Godzilla -1 director meeting with
Oh,
Lucas, invited by Dave Filoni, and like, how are we gonna get a Star Wars monster movie focused on the Zillo Beast? That'd be
that'd be
so
so
cool.
fire.
Oh man, that'd be so cool. So there's other projects going on, but then this is where we get the name drop of Project Necromancer. Then it jumps to
Haven't we heard that
Omega.
name before?
Yeah, Mando.
They say that Mando.
Mando
Okay.
season 3. I think
I
it
was
was
like,
when Moff Gideon was talking with that Council of
Council.
Imperial Remnants. I think it was in that
Yeah,
scene.
I think so too. I was like, we've heard that name before.
Yeah.
So you
So,
know that this is like Palpatine for sure.
right.
But that's what this is.
Yep. And then, so we go to Omega. She's basically doing what she can to leave, gets going through doors that she's normally not allowed to go through and whatever. And she makes her way down to Crosshair. All right, let's go. I got a plan, kind of, not really. I'm just winging it because we have to go now. And so she just has him give a distraction to like get a guard to come over, and then she opens the door, and then he takes him out, whatever, stuns him. They get guns, and they kind of like make their way out. They go to the hound kennel thing to go escape through the kennel tunnel thing. And they're like, well, because but on their way out, they're like, all the ships are grounded because the Emperor's here. And Crosshair's like, what? This is the worst day to try and escape. Which I'm surprised that Palpatine didn't sense something was going wrong while he was there.
Yeah.
Like he's supposed to be able to like sense something in the Force. Like not everything's right, but whatever. He's just focused on himself in a sense because it's clones. But yeah, but they're like, we're gonna steal his ship. I'm like, that's not gonna work. So they just go through the kennels and then like, well, there's a crash ship out there. We'll see if we can use that to like send a signal,
beacon.
send a beacon or whatever to message to Hunter and Wrecker. So that's the plan. Then we get the scene at these cloning test tube things where they're all heavily armored. Like they're closed. Each tube is closed behind a heavily armored whatever outer shell. And they're referred to as specimens, which was kind of like, well, maybe it's not Palpatine clones. Are the clones that we have, the clone troopers that are being taken, are they the ones that are the specimens that they're being trying to make clone sensitive, force sensitive or something? Because at the end of last season, Hemlock is talking about like how modification of clones is the key to like the future of the Empire. It's like, are these clones being like clone troopers being tested on? I don't know. We don't know, but they didn't show what was in that tube for a reason.
Yeah, well, and like also with that too, it's like if that's the case though, but we already know this name from the Mandalorian. They're not modifying clones that far.
But if they're experimenting on clones because they're dispensable, that there's so many of them that they don't
I
need
mean, they could
anymore,
be, and that's what we're
they
getting with
just
these. Like, these are the test dummies, these highly
the assassin clones.
assassin clones, because we got that random guy standing there again.
Yeah. So like I want to say they're starting with clone troopers to try and experiment on, just because Palpatine doesn't want to like waste his clone bodies on failed attempts. Like he doesn't want that because it's Palpatine. So I think it could be testing on clone troopers at first, but I don't know. Like we have no way of knowing because until we see what's in the tube.
This is Snoke's face in there.
Maybe, but I think we'll eventually find out that we're going to see all those tubes opened up or something.
For sure.
Which I feel like I can't. No, I might be misremembering, but that EU with Andrew, the Dark Empire with the clones of Palpatine, were they in tubes? Like a bunch of tubes of
I think
his
so,
clones?
yeah.
So this could be paralleling that.
Yeah.
I'll have to go
Well,
back
and
to that
there
PowerPoint.
was clones in tubes in the Mandalorian.
Right. and they kind of looked like Snoke, but like they was super like cloudy and weird, so you couldn't really tell for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's all interesting either way. Like I'm hyped to get more answers, and I hope
It's all cloning, though. We know that.
it's all cloning. But
No, it says there. It's cloning.
right. Um,
Is it just me? Or does everyone think of the Lion King when you say her name? Or is it just me?
Nala Say. I have
Yeah.
never thought of Nala from
Well, I
Lion
just
King.
glass shattered that for you, so good luck now.
Nala Say.
I just always think a whole, or no, not a whole new world. That's
That's Aladdin.
Aladdin.
Can you
I,
feel the love tonight?
can you feel? Dude, someone needs to make a like T-shirt or something of Nala says like singing that song with the lyrics underneath.
Yep. Make it a shirt. That'll be an Empire Radio shirt that if we ever get merch ever again,
Yeah,
a merch store, which
we just have to like get designs and then print them and sell them on Etsy or something, so we don't get.
so that's the hard thing. Like we got to figure out how to make merch that doesn't have copyright. Because like our logo, if you're looking on a video over like that little cog, that's the reason
Game
why our
over.
original merch site got taken down is because
Well, and we also had like Vader and the
that stuff
trooper.
too. But it's also too close. So like we got. I like our logo. I like our simple like logo in the middle with Empire Radio on top and
Mm-hmm.
bottom and black and white. I just like that. I don't know. We got to come up with maybe a new. If you're an artist, send us an email. Link is in the description in the links.co/Empire Radio thing. If you're an artist and you want to come up with like an Empire Radio logo
That
that's
won't get
simple,
copyright.
that won't get copyrighted, that's simple, but also like makes people understand that it's Star Wars, which is hard because I feel like that's why people click on our stuff on Spotify and stuff is because of our logo. But
Yeah.
it's easily distinguished as a Star Wars thing. Other Star Wars podcasts, like it's not obvious with their logo. So if you're an artist, shoot us an email with some ideas. Maybe we'll
We haven't got sued yet, but any day now.
any day now.
So help us out.
Help us
Knock on
out.
wood. Disney, if you're listening, just give us this logo.
Yeah, come on.
Come on, Dave. What are you doing?
But yes. So as you're looking at these tubes, Emperor Palpatine line from the trailer that there's nothing of greater importance than this project to the future of the galaxy and whatnot. And he's like, basically, unlimited resources, whatever you need to get this done, you got to meet this goal. And Hemlock's like, cha-ching.
Yep.
He's hyped. And I guess we can just jump ahead a little bit to finish the Palpatine stuff, just because there's stuff going back and forth. But as they're leaving, Palpatine is just like, still excited about the stuff, but Hemlock is like, I want to be the minister of Imperial Science Division or something. Like he wants to like
Run all the science and
outrun all the science. Like, what does that mean? Like, what is Hemlock's end goals other than just like what does he want to do with that position? Because like if he's creating these cloned animals, like modified animals, and cloning Palpatine, like what else is there to do? Did he want? So it'd be cool if we get to learn Hemlock's like what his end goal is, and
unlimited cloning power.
should we get a scene like that where he's just like screaming, "Unlimited cloning"? Like, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
But yes, so then the Emperor leaves, and so at this point, Omega and Crosshair have left, but like obviously notification has been, alerts have gone, and because we missed this part. As they're escaping, before they go through the tunnel, Emery stops them.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you don't got to do this. Like, you guys can go back. I can put this under the rug, and like no one will know that you tried to escape. But Crosshair is like, nope, not gonna happen. So she tries to like alert, but then she gets shocked. But it's enough to like
push the button.
And so when Palpatine leaves, they're like, oh yeah, Omega and CT-9904 are missing, and they find out that they escape, and he's like, all right, send out troopers, blah blah blah, like they're not going to survive anyway, but send out troopers.
Well, didn't he say first send out the dogs?
Yes, he did say that.
Because they go out there and then they release the dogs, and then Emery, no, was it Emily or Nala said that you release those dogs, they're not going to come back alive.
I think it was Emery said that.
Yeah.
um
Which the dogs didn't actually do anything because they
right,
got out and then they got distracted by the bear
right,
because they just started doing their real job instead of hunting down people because they're not trained to do that.
yeah. So like Omega and Crosshair, they get out, but they don't know where the ship is, like where to go. He's like, okay, where do we go? She's like, I don't know. Like, oh, okay, good plan. But then like that's when Palpatine is leaving, and like, oh, Palpatine's gonna be taking the same trajectory
The flight
that
plan, yeah,
flight what a pattern that incoming ship. So okay, there goes Palpatine. Let's go
follow
in
that
that
ship.
direction,
Mm-hmm.
basically. And so they go in that direction, and they find the crashed ship, which has been there for 164 days,
Yeah,
and or longer, and it's all overgrown. And so they go inside trying to like see if they can get the comms working, and it doesn't work. And the troopers are closing in on their location because I think they got like a signal or something when they booted up the control panel or something. And then they hear something in the distance, and it's this giant
I don't think they got a signal. I think they got a power source.
power surge.
Yeah,
And so this giant bear thing comes out of nowhere with the red eyes glowing in the dark, had like scale feather things on its back, like a weird, scary looking thing. And the Lurka hounds attack it rather than Crosshair and Omega, which was convenient.
mm-hmm.
So that's going on. The troopers make their way in, where they fly in, they lower down with clone commandos and then regular TK troopers, and they go to the ship. Oh, there's no one there, but they did a plan
72.
72. So Crash was like, "Do you know what Plan 72 is?" Like, "Yeah, Crash. Tech made me memorize all of them." He's like, "Yeah, of course he did." So like at this point, we didn't see it happen, but I'm assuming Omega told Crosshair that Tech died or went missing. Like,
Yeah, I don't know because when it goes back to her having long hair, she was having full on conversations like every day
right,
with Tech. So we assume he's up to date with every scenario, and
right,
that was like the only person she talked to. And Hugh didn't really say much; he was just listening to her talk.
right. And so Plan 72 seems to be just steal an enemy ship to escape.
Yeah,
So when the troopers go to the ship, no one's there, but then that's when Crosshair starts taking them out. And so like they all focus on Crosshair, and then
which we didn't really mention, but Crosshair's hand is very shaky these days,
yeah,
so
so
his shots off.
all the experiments on him have been taking toll on his body, and so I'm sure that will play out more and more as the season goes. But he's taking care of all the troopers while Omega sneaks to their ship,
Mm-hmm.
and she goes in there, sneaks on. Dude, when she took out that pilot,
It was so cool.
she just stunned him, but like it was like point blank, like right at his neck. And then she takes the joystick or whatever. I don't even know, was that called a joystick in a ship?
Sure, I'll go with it.
Joystick. Basically, like steers the ship over a little bit and starts shooting the troopers with the ship's cannons. So that gets dispersed. Crosshair runs, jumps on the ship. She stabilizes the ship. She goes down the lift. Crosshair, I like the pass. Where they just kind of like pass each other. They had the plan. They knew what to
Mm-hmm.
do. So she stole the ship, but then he
Well, you missed
takes
it.
it.
As he was gonna go, he almost died, and then her dog came out of nowhere.
I'm
And
getting there. I'm getting
but that was
there.
before.
Well, that's what's in my notes. Is next is this ship stealing, and then
Oh,
back. Batcher comes.
I thought
And
Batcher came like before Tech
no,
or before Crosshair
no,
got
because
on the ship.
Omega is the one that
Did she almost die and then Batcher
she's the one
came?
that almost died
Oh.
because the gun is on her, and she's
Oh
like,
yeah. Okay.
"Hi," kind of like Han, "Hi, how are you?" type of thing. And then that's when Batcher comes out of the woods, kills that trooper, and then he's working with Omega.
She.
Huh?
She's working with Omega.
Oh yeah, she. Dang it, I'm never gonna get this. It was whole season,
This
and
dog is
so
gonna be here the whole time. Like she.
yep. So while this is happening, this whole fight, that's when Omega's blood triggers a perfect match.
Mm-hmm.
Emery is there. She's like, "Oh crap, this is it. This is what we've been looking for." And she runs to the command center where Hemlock is like, "Don't shoot the ship down," because this is they're escaping at this point. But like, so Emery's like already on the inside. What do I do to save Omega? So she's running to Hemlock to tell him to stop. But while this is happening, Omega gets on the ship, and I thought, the dog was gonna die trying to save Omega or something. But no, she's like, Batcher, come.
Yeah.
And he just sprints and he jumps on the ship. I'm
Yeah.
like,
She
cool.
does.
I'm like, this is cool that they have like a pet dog that's also gonna be helping them fight.
Yeah, it's gonna be cool.
Yeah, so that's cool. So then as they're escaping, this is when Emery jumps in and is like, hey, don't shoot him down because Omega's a perfect match and we need her. And Hemlock, I'm happy that Hemlock is wise enough to like know that he has to let her go
Yeah.
in order for him to reach his greater goals.
Mm-hmm. Well,
And so
because he has unlimited funds now to hunt her down.
right. I think he says that, but
Mm-hmm.
like he just has let him go. So then they escaped to hyperspace. And that's how it ends.
Mm-hmm.
So that's cool.
You know what Hemlock probably did after that?
What's that, Drew?
He probably had to relax. He yelled at Nala probably for a little bit. Like, why didn't we test her blood a long time ago? And he just had to go to the office. He probably slammed the door because he's just so frustrated. And he went over to his coffee pot and poured himself some Wesley Andrews coffee.
Really? That's a coincidence because they happen to be our sponsor for today.
No
Drew.
way.
No way. I can't believe this. First time in 243 episodes, but
What
yes,
a
our sponsor
quinkadink.
Quinkadink. Our sponsor for today is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. So take a listen if you want to get a nice discount on some great coffee.
Hey everyone, Andrew here. I'm pleased to tell you that the sponsor of today's episode is Wesley Andrews Coffee and Tea. If you don't know anything about Wesley Andrews, you definitely should. They're an award-winning coffee roaster and shop in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and they make fantastic coffee. The awesome thing is that whether you live in the Twin Cities or not, you can get their coffee beans delivered straight to your door by ordering them online. They even have a subscription service that ensures you never run out of amazing coffee. If you've been looking for some new coffee to try or a way to elevate your normal coffee routine, now's your chance. Head over to wesleyandrews.cc, use the code Empire Radio, that's with a capital E and a capital R with no space at checkout, to get 15% off your first purchase of any bags of coffee or a coffee subscription. I can't think of a better deal. Get 15% off some great coffee, support a small business, and support your favorite Star Wars podcast. In the words of Emperor Palpatine, do it.
Do it.
Do it.
All right, cool. Well, that's episodes 1 and 3. So now we're going to go to episode 2 to finish out tonight's episode. So, episode 2, Paths Unknown. And so this is the story of Hunter and Wrecker doing what they can to track down Omega. And so it starts out at this cool castle. This is a cool castle. This might be my favorite large structure building in Star Wars. This is a cool looking thing. So I think this is on like the Devorian home planet, I'm assuming.
It must be.
And I think it's the first time we've ever seen a female Devorian,
Yeah, I think so.
which is interesting. Maybe we have before and we just haven't noticed, but definitely Devorians because they have the horns coming out of their foreheads. That's why they are called Devorians because they kind of look like devils. But at this castle thing or whatever, there's kind of like this Queen Issa. I'm assuming she's a queen. Her name's Issa, which, okay, I thought, I was like, when the first time I watched this, I was like, this guy looks familiar. He sounds familiar. And it wasn't until the second time I was watching, when I watched with subtitles, that I realized that this is the guy from season, I think it was 1 of Bad Batch. Do you remember this guy?
Yep.
Roland.
Mm-hmm.
And so, because like he gets it at the end, he gets one of his horns cut, and his head, they have to do with the pikes and stuff like that. So I was like, I had completely forgot about that until like I had to go look it up. But yes, so this is a callback to season 1 when the Bad Batch interacted with this guy Roland, and so Hunter and Wrecker come in with a pike that was the one that cut off the Devorian's horn when they had the conflict and all that stuff with Spice. And that's the same episode with that pet Ruby that he wanted, that whatever. And so it's from that one. I think it's I can't remember which episode it was called, but yeah. So obviously they have like a relationship, and so it's kind of like that's how they got this in, was kind of like Roland kind of trusted the Bad Batch in general, and it's basically like, here's the pike that double crossed you or whatever it was that screwed you over, dishonored the Devorian royal family or whatever. Now we hear that you have information on Dr. Hemlock and where his lab is, or where some of his working area is. So it was basically a trade for intel, and the Queen agreed with it. And so they're like, well, how do we know this is true? Like, well, this is all we got, and it's like the only lead. So they got lab coordinates, and so they just make their way to this planet, super green.
Yeah.
Greenest planet we've ever seen in Star Wars. Pretty crazy.
That's pretty cool.
So on their way there, Hunter, you could tell he's struggling with the tech side of things. He's using techs like datapad thing.
Yeah,
and
he's struggling a little bit.
like they knew where they were going because that's where but like you could tell that he just didn't know how to work that thing as well as tech. So, but like if they wanted Echo and Rex's help, it wouldn't be for like 2 days because they're on their own mission.
Or
And
they said three moon cycles.
it was 3? I thought it was 2.
No, it's 3.
Whatever. Point is, they don't have Echo and Rex help at the moment. And like Hunter, wants to rush in and do this, but even Wrecker was like, come on. You know better than this. Like, we can't just run in there with no intel or little intel, like, by ourselves. We should just wait to get help. And Hunter's like, no, we're going.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay. And so they go there, and it's a jungle. It basically reminds me of Kashyyyk, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Trees aren't as tall, but it kind of reminded me of just kind of like the aesthetic and kind of like the bugs and stuff like that. They make their way to the lab, and it's completely destroyed by an audible how do you say audible bombardment? I can't say that word. And it's overrun with vines and stuff like that. And it's like, this must be bad intel or old intel because it seems like this is completely destroyed and no one's here. As they're making their way down, they get kind of ambushed by 2 people, 2 teenage kids.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, here's some clones. And I kind of got spoiled by this
Wow.
because yesterday on a Star Wars YouTube channel, they had a clip, and I didn't watch it, but the thumbnail was the 4 of them on the thumbnail. I'm like, oh, those are definitely clone kids.
Dang.
So that was stupid. Because I knew this episode was about them finding a couple clone kids or something. Which I thought, going in, I thought, okay, it's going to be like a whole bunch of them, like
Yeah, like
a dozen of them or 20 of them or something.
it's
But
gonna be
nope.
like a Lost Boys.
Lord
in there.
of that or Lord of the Flies or something like
Yeah.
that. But they're basically like, yeah, we're the only ones, us two plus the other guy, our other clone we're the only survivors.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, they were doing testing on clones and using clones to help with running the lab and all that stuff. That they were doing, they're trying to create weapons, but then like but they realized when all the Imperial workers were leaving, like something's gonna go down. So they were smart enough to get out of there before everything was destroyed. Um, but as they're walking through the jungle, they're like, "Don't touch any of the vines." I'm like, "What do you mean they're touching all the vines already?" But then there's this big brown black vine hanging down that Wrecker touches, and it comes alive and starts attacking them, and they get away. But the kids clones say that they call it slither vines,
Mm-hmm.
and it's basically a weapon created by the Empire that kind of went wrong because it overtook everything. I'm like, okay, it's interesting that this is kind of maybe because this is Hemlock's former lab, so he was working on this. So it kind of gives a sneak peek to like maybe what he's doing with some of the other things where he's
Yeah.
just taking existing creatures and modifying. Because at the end of the episode, now I don't know. Okay, was the vines in the forest the same as this Sarlacc creature in the lab? Because it seemed like the Sarlacc thing had its own vine technical things, which was kind of like in the lab, but then like the vines were separate outside.
Yeah, I think so.
That there's two
But I
separate
think the
things.
vines were the same vines. It was all connected.
Okay,
And then you had like the walking vine things.
we'll get to those. But like I wasn't sure if those are two separate things or if they were all
I
those
think it's all
slithering vines
connected.
were connected to the Sarlacc thing.
They're all connected.
Because it's just like, how did this Sarlacc thing like grow and get out of the lab?
I mean, we don't even know how long they've been there. Like, if that's probably one of the reasons why they left is because it started outgrowing them.
Right.
And then when it blew up, they probably thought they're gonna blow it up, but then they clearly didn't kill it. And then if you looked at it, the rebel was like all vines. So it's either I'm pretty sure like the mother vine was the Sarlacc pit, the head of it, because it looked like those other little walking ones were like smaller potential Sarlacc pits.
Maybe that
Kind of hard to
actually,
tell
now that you mention that, it makes kind of sense.
because they all had like little teeth on them
In the middle, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so they get back to their kind of like cave camp thing where there's the other clone who is kind of like their leader, because you could tell he was a little bit taller than the other two, so he was a little bit older, it seemed like, and that's why he's the leader.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like the Hunter and Wrecker are like, well, we want to get to the lab.
Don't they also say that he was around longer?
I don't know.
Because he had more information about the lab than those other two boys.
I don't remember that, but possibly he's older. I saw that he was taller.
Well, because he asked them questions about it, and they said, "Oh, he would know because he was around longer."
Maybe.
Were they born there?
No, they're all born on Camino.
Oh yeah, they were. They said that.
But yeah, so they're talking. They're like, well, we're looking for one of our team members. that was taken by Hemlock. And, we were told that this was his lab, but apparently that's no longer true. But, like, we want to go there to see if there's any information we can get. And they're like, well, we haven't been down there in a while because it's been overtaken by these slither vines. And then they said it was toxic inside. And
Because when you cut the vine, it, like,
kind of
spits
remind
a
me
toxin.
of The Last of Us video game.
Yeah.
But, like, they're like, well, the last time we were in there was, like, a control panel that was still intact, but there's no, because we wanted to see if we could use it to send out a signal to get some help, but there was no power source.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, well, we can take care of that. And I was thinking, gonk for the win.
Gonk, gonk.
So they're like, well, we got to go because this is the only lead we got. It's the only chance we got. And the one kid, I forget all their names. Like, one's like Mock, one's like Stock, and Deke. I think it's Deke. Deke was the one that went with them. Like, well, I'm going to help them out. So they first go back to their ship, the M&H, and get
Gonky.
And Wrecker carries them back, but carries them upside down. I was like, what are you doing? I know it's just a droid, but I was like, bro.
What, all the bolts are going to run to his head or something?
Maybe. I don't know how droids work, but they worked their way to the lab, and they worked their way through, and it's like, don't touch. Immediately, Deke is like, all right, don't touch anything. And right away, Wrecker trips over something. Oh, it was kind of funny. But they're walking through, and it's like Wrecker is starting to freak out a little bit, like he's hearing things. They all stop, and then the vine grabs Deke, and then, like, they're fighting it off. But then, like, there's these little, like, three-legged. It's like, I don't know, like a three-legged starfish, but like it walks on the arms, so it looks like it's headless creature thing, and it has the mouth. Like, when it opens up, it has the mouth. So I think you're right. I didn't realize it, but it's probably a single Sarlacc thing, because the big we see the big mama later, but like those are individual Sarlaccs, I guess. But dude, those are scary, dude. And like the lighting and stuff, it was like just like a video game when you just have a flashlight.
It really felt like what I pictured, like the zombie Star Wars game, like book looked like.
Yeah.
Like, it was very much like zombie scary.
It was kind of like a horror thing too. Like those few times where they jumped out of the darkness right at the camera, all you see is right in like the mouth. It opened up, and so it was kind of scary. But they make their way to the control panel. Also, okay, the kid was like, okay, it's poisonous in here. So he had like a breather mask on. But when he gets attacked, it falls off, but he's fine.
No, he puts it back on.
I know, but he was fine. Like, was it really toxic then?
Probably was, just over time.
Unless he turns into a Sarlacc on Pabu, and they go back to Pabu, and it's been overtaken by vines because a kid turned into a Sarlacc.
That'd be wild.
But yeah, so they're like making their way to the panel, like in this big area, but there's like goopy sludge bubbling, like on the ground. So they're like stepping on these floating pieces and working away, and it's almost like big, huge, murky, bubbly, black sludge water. I'm like, oh, something's down there. So they're working on the panel, or the kid is, at least. He's like, well, I've worked on it a little bit. I can work my way through. He's like, so he's working on it.
Pulling all the information off of it, essentially.
Yep. And then the giant vines attack, like really big vines. And they're not just like straight vines like the other ones. They're like really like clunky and deformed and really big. So they're fighting this. And so while this is going on, the other two clone kids are like figuring out, like, what should we do? Like, they're going to die in there. And
let's go steal the ship.
Let's go steal the ship, because we got to get to the ship before the vines take it. Because once the vines take it, then we're screwed. But we could just take the ship and we could just steal it, and we could finally get off this planet, because no one's going to come and get us. And so, but then they go work their way to the ship. They're kind of looking around in it, and then they get a comm thing from Deke. It's kind of
they hotwired it.
They did. They get in. They crossed 2 wires, and then the door opened up. And there's inside looking around. They get like a comm thing from Deke, and it's just basically screaming and yelling and shooting and stuff. And I'm like, okay, they're gonna go rescue him. But so they go back to Hunter and Deke and Wrecker, and they're trying to get out of the whole facility, and they get out, and like they're floating on this piece that they jumped onto, and then like the tentacles still come out, and then it's basically they're fighting their way off, standing on this little thing, and then the ship comes in. Okay, cool. The kids come, rescue everyone, and they put the lines down. They're on their way up, but then the vines take the ship that's flying above it, floating above, and you see it pull like itself out of the muck, and it's a giant sarlacc-looking pit with like it's like straight black with like really sharp, fine teeth. And I'm like, dude, this is kind of scary. And so Wrecker, he drops a thermal detonator in the mouth and it doesn't do anything. And like, we need more power, more explosives. And Wrecker's like, go grab the explosive box.
Yeah.
And so the kids in the ship, they go grab it and drop the whole thing down. There's probably like 50 thermal detonators. And then they drop the last, they ignite, they turn the last one on, and drop it down, and huge explosion. And it looked really cool. It was
really cool because it bounced off the teeth too.
And I was like, why is it clanking on flesh? But like, whatever.
Yeah, it was like on the
but like,
ting.
but the explosion was really cool. I like how they
Yeah.
animated the explosion inside the creature killing it. And so they kills the thing, the arms the tentacles go of the ship. They fly off. And so afterwards, they're in hyperspace and they're Wrecker's talking with the kids, having fun. And then Hunter, he's looking at the data pad and trying to figure stuff out. And he goes, all right, I've been looking at the data. I couldn't find any information really other than a certain sector, which I don't know how many sectors there are in Star Wars.
A lot, probably.
But I feel like there's like a dozen or 20 or something like that, just how the thing is broken up. But at least that narrows it down to one section of the galaxy where Omega is, potentially. But that's their only lead. But he's like, well, and the kids are like, well, what are we going to do? He's like, well, we can drop you off we got a place for you. It's an island. And like, you can start your life over there. I'm like, okay, that's cool. That they're going to go to Pabu and drop them off. I don't know if we're going to see them on Pabu or anything. If we're going to see that island again, but at least we know.
We see that girl again on the island.
Well, we see Fee.
Yeah.
But I don't think we saw her on the island, but we know.
No.
So maybe the next time we'll see them dropping the kids off or something.
Yeah.
And then Fee goes with them on the mission or something. But yeah, that's how it ends. And so here's my question. Or not my question, but my theory. So Omega is gone. She's not on Tantus anymore. But Hunter and Wrecker don't know that. So they're going to go to Mount Tantus. They're going to break their way in. And they're going to get captured. So then Crosshair and Omega are going to have to go rescue Hunter and Wrecker off Tantus. That the whole thing got switched, which is I think it's kind of funny.
Will they find Tech and then they go?
Maybe. Like, I don't know. Like,
surprised we didn't see Tech in this episode.
Right. So.
Or they find each other and they find out that Tech is there, because the only way for them to get Omega back, to find Omega, is the Empire pulls that final card and say, hey, I have Tech.
Maybe.
And he's actually that
the
elite stormtrooper.
Oh, dude. Maybe. Yeah, so. But we don't know how long it's going to take, because we got 15 total episodes, so we have 11 more episodes to go. Yep. And so it's one of those things where, like,
11 more weeks.
So it's like, Like, how does all this play out? Because like they go on missions, but I don't think they're gonna go to Tantus like next episode. Like, is it
No.
going to be at the end? Like, last few episodes is when they get captured, and then that's when Crosshair and Omega have to go
I
find
think
them.
they're gonna join together, and then they're gonna find out that Crosshair was there the whole time.
Join together with who?
I think they're gonna find each other, probably at the island, and they go drop out those kids. Omega and Crosshair are already there,
Oh,
and then they're gonna like do missions and try to hide from the
oh,
Empire.
that'd be kind of lame. I
It
wouldn't
would
like
be,
that.
but I'm pretty sure that scene that we see them jumping, I'm pretty sure Crosshair's in that scene.
No.
Yeah, because
we only see Hunter and Wrecker.
If you slow it down though, there's another trooper.
Well, yeah, but that could have been Rex or Echo.
It could have been, or it could be Crosshair.
But I don't know. That'd be this lame that like next episode they just happen to all go to Pabu because that's the only place Omega knows to go.
But wouldn't it make sense?
It would make sense, but I don't know. That's kind of lame. That like there's no because then what's the conflict? Like what's
The conference is they find out that Tech is back there. And they get Tech, and then they realize that he's been brainwashed.
maybe? But then if that's true, then that means when they track down Omega, like the Empire, they're gonna track her to Pabu, and then they're gonna destroy Pabu, which is sad.
Hopefully not. Yeah.
But
I don't know.
Nah, I'm kind of mad that you said that. Now they're just gonna next episode meet up at Pabu by accident.
Why? Because it kind of makes sense.
Not because it makes sense, but it's because then like, what's the point of this season then? Like
To figure out what the cloning is.
I was like, they're gonna have these two separate stories, and like Hunter and Wrecker are gonna be going in the wrong direction. The whole thing, and they get captured for no reason.
Yeah, I mean it's possible. You're not wrong either. I'm just saying.
You're probably right though. I'm not gonna bet on that one. You're probably right. But
because at the end of the day, the whole band's still not together though. There's someone missing.
Right.
And they think he's dead, and they can't find Omega. And then he's like, "Hey, surrender yourself, Omega." So Crosshair doesn't die, and then they show Crosshair, and then they go get him, and then realize he's actually bad, and then it's just like another conference of interest trying to get Crosshair to, or trying to get Tech to be him normal self again.
Maybe
it'll be cool. I don't know. It's cool to see that Crosshair is good now, though.
Yeah. Now that he's like free, because he was in a cell, so he had like no like hope. But now that he's free, like, but his health is declining.
Yeah, so he might be dying internally.
So he's probably dying, physically dying, which is sad.
There's gonna be a part where throughout this season, he's gonna get to a point where he dies and he has to sacrifice himself instead of shooting because he can't shoot no more.
Do you think Batcher is gonna sacrifice his life to save the Batch?
Potentially, she might.
I think Batcher is gonna die saving Omega or somebody.
No, at the end of the show, Mega's the only one that survives, and she's riding off in the sunset with Batcher.
That could happen too.
Or she's just captured and she's like getting her blood taken out of her. Yeah. And then that's the end of the
And then it's just show. The next show is just called Omega, the final clone.
Oh. I think we're gonna get Rex show.
It'd be cool. It's like all this stuff that Rex been doing, like
we can get all of that information.
All this stuff. Somehow he gets in contact with Ahsoka. Mm-hmm. So it'd be cool to see all that stuff.
I think that's what we're gonna get.
But who knows?
Find out.
It could be called like Fulcrum. It could be an Ahsoka animated show where it's her and Rex doing Fulcrum stuff.
That'd be cool.
But I don't know.
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see.
I also wouldn't mind that live action either.
We're not getting any live action stuff like that. We could with Ariana Greenbelt, I think is her name. But like it needs to be like another like 5 years before she starts doing like Imperial era stuff, because she's only 15, 16 now, so she's younger than Ahsoka was at the end of Clone Wars anyway. So even though they can make it work, but
Makeup.
it'll be I would still like a more mature person, like an adult, young adult playing a young adult Ahsoka.
Isn't she in that new? She's in that new movie.
Yeah, Andrew sent that Borderlands movie.
Borderlands, yeah.
Which
Bobby Lee's in it.
Right. I don't know anything about Borderlands. It's a video game, right?
Yeah.
And it's just a movie of the video game. I don't know anything about it. Never played it. I don't know anything about it. So I have no emotional attachment to that.
Yeah, I've never played it either. I just know about it because it's a game or whatever. And then I knew that this was in the making for a long time because Bobby Lee, who I follow as a comedian, and podcaster, he talked about it 3 years ago when he filmed it.
He is also aware of Empire Radio.
Right? Yes. Well, I told him about it. So
I don't know. Hey, if Bobby, if you're listening, we'd love to have you on. We'd love to have you on the podcast, but
send a voicemail.
This is a family-friendly podcast, so we got to make sure.
Yeah, that'd be a lot of beeps, I think. Just send a voicemail, Bobby. Yeah, I would love that. I would probably cry.
Yep. But all right, cool. Anything else about these episodes?
No,
I could look up because they released the titles of all the episodes.
All the episodes? You're gonna spoil the next episode for us?
Yep. Unless you don't want to hear it.
I really want to hear what Addie has to say about these episodes.
Let's see here. Season 3. Next episode is called A Different Approach.
Dun, dun, dun.
And then the one after
tells us literally nothing.
But the one after that, I feel like.
Don't read it. Save it for next week.
I'm not reading all of these. Ooh, there's one episode called Juggernaut, which seems cool. That could be like one of the monsters that.
Yeah, that bear.
You want that the finale is kind of spoiler too.
Don't read that either. Dang it. Stop reading them. You're not. You don't even like reading them.
Oh well, the title is what we expected anyway of something to happen, so it's not really too spoilery. But I don't want to spoil it for you because you don't care. But that's that.
I want to be surprised.
So let's transition over to everyone's favorite time of every episode: voicemail time.
It's voicemail time.
All right, cool. Well, we have 3 voicemails plus 2 emails.
Oh.
So we'll do the emails first. So this email came in last week in response to our Dark Disciple book review that we did, or I always say Halloween for our Valentine's Day special, from a gentleman named Chris Preston, and he says, "Hello, Empire Radio. I was reading Dark Disciple, getting ready for your next podcast, and thought of a question. When reading Star Wars novels, do you picture everything you are reading as the Clone Wars animation in your head, especially if it's a story with characters we've only seen in animation like Ventress, or do you imagine it as live action? How do you view novels where we haven't seen the characters, such as the High Republic novels? Thanks, guys. Love your podcast, Chris."
That's a good question.
That is a good question. And I was like really hard because I'm like,
yeah, I don't know.
I
think for this one I did Clone
Wars for like Clone Wars characters, like you said. Like, so I think I was picturing Dark Disciple as Clone Wars.
Yeah, me too. But I think for the High Republic it's like live action until I see the cartoon, like the comic book art of them, and then it throws me off and my brain's is all scrambled.
Yeah, I don't know. It's hard to. I think with like the High Republic stuff, I think I picture it as live action. in my head.
I think I do too. Until Grace showed us like the other ones. No, kind of.
Yeah, so that was an interesting
It's a good
thing.
question.
But also with like Dark Disciple, like we see, the cover art, Ventress has the long comb over hair, like short comb over hair. So like I was picturing her as the 2D art on the cover, kind of mixed with.
I was, but then I was also picturing her as what we see in the show from that trailer.
Right. Which is also the same hairstyle.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. I was probably going back and forth too.
But it's also kind of weird, like going, because we did the Ahsoka novel a couple years ago, and I think in that I was picturing Ahsoka as Clone Wars animation.
Me too.
But everything else was live action.
Yeah.
Which is kind of
weird how your brain
funny
works, huh?
Think about that now.
I got to think about next time I read the next Star Wars book, what medium I'm viewing these characters in.
Right. That's an interesting question, Chris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
I already, we kind of discussed before about our next book we're going to read after Bad Batch is done. So it's like, now I'm trying to think, like, how am I going to picture those characters?
Yeah, I know, me too.
Because, like, we've seen those characters in both live action and animated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, how am I going to navigate doing that, which would be interesting. All right, cool. Thanks, Chris, for that. Send us in.
That was a good question.
Questions. Yeah.
We'll let you know how we feel about the next book we read.
Yeah. All right. Another question from our good friend Elias. Simple question. What is your favorite fruit? And he says his is strawberry.
Fruit. Haven't we asked this question before?
You might have. Do you remember mine? I've talked about it 1,000,000 times on the podcast.
It's that orange.
Cara oranges.
Yes.
Which they're in season. Like usually like in January is when they start coming in season. You see them in stores. So I've been buying them every week for the past like month and a half now.
They still your favorite?
They're so good. Like sometimes it's just like any other orange, or like some of them they're just blah. But like
every once in a while you get a banger.
But like some of them, some batches are really good.
Are not bad.
They're not a bad batch. So like for those of you who don't know what a Cara orange is, go to your grocery store, local grocery store, and see if they got them in the fruit section. They look like a regular orange on the outside, but when you cut them open, they're like a pink color, like a dark. They kind of look like a grapefruit.
Grapefruit.
But they taste like a sweet grapefruit, kind of. So, I think they're more juicy too. I don't know. Maybe I feel like when I cut, because I cut them into 4 pieces, and I just peel in the big wedge off, and then I eat the big chunk. I feel like when I cut them open,
there's more juice on the table.
They bleed more juice than a normal orange.
Gotcha.
But it's weird because that's what citrus fruit is. It's just pockets of juice. That's all.
Yeah.
So I don't understand why it would make a difference. But I don't know. I really like them.
Is it like a real orange? Or is it like modified like what's honeysuckle? No.
Honeycrisp?
Honeycrisp.
Like invented in a lab breed? I don't have no idea. I'm sure it's its own thing just because there's all kinds of citrus fruits out in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, but yeah, Cara oranges. But I feel like when it comes to fruits, like a good one of any fruit is always amazing.
True.
Like a good strawberry, like a good sweet strawberry, you eat that, like I'm blown away.
Well, like
sweet blueberry.
I had pineapple.
Yeah.
And the first time in like over 10 years, because for a while I thought I was allergic. Because I had an allergic reaction to something one night to the point where like my lips swelled up and like I went to the hospital and I almost died. And they thought it was either 2 things I had that night, which was peanut butter. And Jeremiah, it's not peanut butter.
You eat that by the bucket full.
So it's not that. Or then I had pineapple juice. So they're like, it's probably one of those two things. Well, I tested my way with peanut butter pretty early on. After like a month, I was like, screw this. If I'm going to die good.
Just going out
So,
with a smile on your face.
yeah. So like that wasn't it. So then I just assumed it was pineapple. So I didn't have pineapple forever. And I was in Hawaii. I'm like, dude, I'm in Hawaii.
You're gonna die on vacation.
Like, let's go out. Like, what's the worst thing that happen? I'm gonna go there and they're gonna give me like a tetanus shot and I'll be fine and
A
walk out.
tetanus shot? That's not gonna work.
Whatever the shot is, like, I'll be fine. So I had it. One, it was amazing, and two, I had no allergic reaction, so I don't know what I was sick with for that day, but whatever.
Did you have it since Hawaii?
Yeah, I had it the other day on pizza, and the hype is not real, just so you guys know.
Oh, you don't like pineapple? Pineapple
okay,
Canadian bacon pizza is great. I thought, okay, I'm never gonna like order that.
Yeah, like,
but if it's at a party and there's a bunch of pizzas, like, I will get.
Family, if they order pizza, it's like sausage pizza and then pineapple and Canadian bacon. And I'm like, and they always like, oh, Andrew, you can't touch this one, and then like put it aside. Right. So I never have it. And then so the other day we had like a birthday party for my nephew, and then I was like, no, I'm going for it. I just ate it. And then all of them like stared at me like I was going to drop dead. I'm like, I had it in Hawaii. They're like, but maybe that was because it was fresh from Hawaii. I'm like,
that's not how allergies work.
I don't think that's how allergies work. Like, because it was not aged with pesticides. Like, I don't think that's how that works.
But
so
like,
then, yeah, it was fine.
Like I said, I'll never like order a pineapple pizza. But if I'm at a party and it's there, I'll always take one slice just to have, just because it's.
I mean, it was fine, but the hype is like way too big for that.
Did you ever see the video of Gordon Ramsay trying pineapple pizza for the first time?
No,
because he lost a bet or something on some show, and so then he had to like try it. And he thought it was like the worst thing ever. But yeah,
no. But
anyway,
then like today I had pineapple salsa. Very good.
But you gotta be careful though with eating pineapple in general. Like, you don't want to eat a bunch of pineapple
because it burns your lips and stuff. Right?
No, not that. It'll give you diarrhea.
Oh, good to know.
Like, that's like when kids have like constipation issues, like little babies and stuff. They give them like pineapple juice to help.
That was prune juice.
Well, there's that too. There's more than one thing. But here's the thing. Like, one time I bought a pineapple and it was really good.
You ate the whole thing?
I ate the whole thing, like almost one sitting. Dude, next day was the worst.
It was rough.
It was the worst day of my life. Dude, it was bad.
Kids friendly show, Jeremiah.
So when you eat pineapple, just eat a couple circles worth around the rind, and that's all you want to eat at a time.
That's all you're allowed. All right,
but what did you answer the question? Like, what's your favorite fruit?
No, I think my favorite fruit still. I mean, pineapple in Hawaii was amazing. It was a different experience for sure. But I think my favorite fruit is still lychee.
Never had it.
You should have it. You'd like it.
I don't even know what it is.
You don't know what a lychee is?
Is that white stuff with the dots in it?
No.
What's the white? What's that? It's like orange, like red on the outside, but like it's like white with like black dots in the middle.
Dragon fruit?
Is that what it is? I don't know. What's lychee?
Lychee is like, it's kind of like a kiwi like flavor, but then it's like more sweet. But the outside's spiky, kind of like a dragon fruit, and you have to peel it off. And then it has like one seed in the middle. It's like a grape feeling texture. It's really good.
You said it was furry, like on the outside, kind of?
Yeah, it's like spiky.
Yeah, that looks weird.
It looks weird, but it's amazing. I think you like it.
What does it taste like?
It tastes like a sweeter kiwi.
What's the texture like?
Like a kiwi / grape.
Oh.
Grape texture.
Weird.
I think you'd like them. They're just they're always hard to find a good one. Like most really good fruits, you know. It's all about the ones you find.
Have you ever tried? I've never tried it. I've only seen it at the store, like sometimes. I think it's called like Buddha's hand.
Mm-mm.
It looks like you take your hand and you go like this. Like it has like these fingers on it.
Oh,
It's really weird.
I thought, what's that one fruit that is like really ugly looking and it smells bad when you cut it open?
Durian?
Yeah, I thought that's what you were gonna say.
No.
I'm like, nope.
There's something called ugly fruit. I think it's like
Is it ugly?
it looks like a rotten orange. Like it looks like an
Ugh.
orange that's been rotten sitting in the ground for like weeks.
But it's good.
But I don't know. I've never had it. It looks ugly.
No, lychee is really good. It's really good in like drinks too. Like, there's a lot of lychee. Like in Hawaii, I had a lychee cocktail and it was pretty good.
Fun.
So yeah, get your lychee.
Cool.
Surprised you ever had one.
I'm not. I eat bananas,
You're not
oranges,
adventurous when it comes to fruit.
strawberries, cantaloupe, watermelon, honeydew, and like occasionally I'll buy blueberries. But like,
I'll get you a lychee one day. You can try it.
do you have a go-to apple? Like what? Because there's a million kinds of apples. Is there a certain kind of apple that you
I
like?
think mine is Honeycrisp, probably.
Yeah, I was buying a lot of those this year. Before I didn't really like them, but they were always on sale, like super cheap this past apple season.
Yeah, this last apple season was weird.
So like I kept getting them in there because they were super cheap, and I guess they're good, but I think was it Fiji and Gala are kind of like my two favorite.
Oh, those are pretty good too.
Yeah.
You guys don't know Minnesota has a lot of apples, so that's why we know a lot about apples.
And we invented the Honeycrisp, right?
I think so. And we consume the most apples in any state too, I think.
Really?
I think so.
I didn't know that. Interesting. And
I think that was one of Lucy's questions about Minnesota. I think it was on that quiz.
Huh?
That Minnesota quiz thing that we did during EmpireCon?
That I made?
The Minnesota one?
The first night that Tanner won both quizzes?
No, I think it was this. Maybe that was just a thing that she remembered. Maybe
I don't know. I
wrong.
didn't. I think it might be. Oh, Minnesota's the state fruit of Minnesota?
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe. I don't know.
I remember hearing that, and maybe I'm mixing things up.
I don't know. All right. Cool.
But yeah, thanks for that. Also, send in voicemails, bro. What's up with these emails these days?
I don't know. I think he waits till the last minute and like, oh crap. And he's like, I don't got time.
Types it out instead.
Yeah. Just get it done right away, dude. You got all week to get it done.
Also, say hi to your mom for us.
Yep. Hi.
She's the coolest.
Hi, Jessica.
Yep, she's the coolest.
All right. Well, those are the email ones, but let's get the real ones here, the real voicemails.
The voicemails.
First up, I think this is his second voicemail ever. Grass Monkey sent one in a few weeks ago.
Oh, sweet.
So let's take a listen to his question.
Hey, Empire Radio, it's Grass Monkey or Aiden from the Discord. I just had a quick question. What's your favorite quote about a clone trooper or from a clone trooper? Just thought I would fit in with the Bad Batch, and have a great day for the Republic, and may the Force be with you.
All right, cool. That is an interesting question. Favorite quote about clones or from a clone? I think the classic is the one from Rex where it's like, we are one and the same heart, same blood, or whatever it goes.
Yeah, that one's a good one.
That's a good one.
I think the one that Omega said tonight too was pretty good.
When Crosshair is like, I don't belong here, and she's like, none of us belong here.
Or no, he said, I belong here.
Oh yeah, I belong here, and she's like, no one belongs here. That's a good one. There's that one when Rex is yelling at Pong Krell. We are men, not clones. We are men, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That was super. And then he basically shuts Pong Krell up. If you can shut Pong Krell up,
that's it. That's good.
That's good. I feel like these are all like Rex quotes.
Yeah.
I think there's the Rex quote from just before Order 66 when he's like, us clones have mixed feelings about the war, but without it, none of us would exist.
Oh, that was like heartbreaking.
Because then, like,
depressing.
2 minutes later, he's trying to kill Ahsoka.
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I have to go back and watch Clone Wars again and get more quotes.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else, Drew, for that one?
No.
All right. Well, I'm sure when we get an Ahsoka Rex show, we'll get a lot more quotes from Rex that we'll be able to have.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, it should be noted. So D. Bradley Baker, who does all the clone voices, he also did the voice for Batcher.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
That's
in the
funny.
credits. And then I was rewatching, Avatar, and he does Appa and Momo.
No,
Yeah,
that's dope.
so that's funny. All right, cool. Thanks, Grass Monkey. Next up, from our good friend Owen. So let's take a listen.
Hey Empire Radio, Owen here with another voicemail. I got a question for you guys today. Why do characters in Star Wars age so fast? For example, in Revenge of the Sith, Obi-Wan's 38, and in New Hope he's 57, but he looks like a 75-year-old man. And Luke was only 53 in the sequels, but he was portrayed as an old man. Alright, thanks, may the Force be with you. Bye.
All right, cool.
Because they go through a lot of stress in their life, and also sun is not good for you, and that's what happened to Obi-Wan.
Obi-Wan and Owen and Beru.
Yeah,
That's the main thing, because they're living on a desert planet. They're saying that's
With-
why.
2 sons.
2 sons, but I don't know.
Luke they had no other way to betray him without him looking old.
Well, because the thing is, like in the real world, it was 40 years difference in production, like 35, 40 years between,
Mm-hmm.
but in the movie it's 30 years, so it's like you have that where the actor ages more than the character does.
I like to view it this way though. For Luke, I feel like the reason why he looks older is because he had the weight of the galaxy on his back. And he felt like he failed, so he aged because of all the stress and stuff. I mean, if you look at our president, they go in 4 years later, they're a whole different kind of person.
I don't know, I always hate that argument, because presidents, they get elected when they're like in their 50s.
Well,
and it's like, or older. But it's like, if you get elected when you're like 55 and you're there for 8 years, of course you're going to look completely a lot grayer.
True, but
Like,
still,
like when was okay? To
it's a
become
lot of
president,
pressure.
the youngest you can be is 35 years old.
Mhm.
Like, if you took a 35-year-old, gets elected as president, and they're there for 8 years, and they're
gonna look 40.
43, they're not
Yeah.
going to look that old. They're going to look like they're 43. So it's like, I don't know.
I don't know. Do we know that though? We don't know that because we elect old people.
Yep.
But that's a debate for a different day.
Yep. So,
but yeah, I don't know. I feel like there's a lot of pressure. I mean, the same when like everyone has like when you have kids and then like their dad like has a full set of hair, and then towards like the middle of it, they're always like, yeah, all this bald stuff. This is because of you.
You lost your hair before Miles, so you don't have it.
I've lost more since Miles, though. I'll tell you that.
Yep.
But I think it's just like a lot of pressure. I don't know. That's what I'm gonna say. But yeah, it's honestly just because of
I still like to think that for Obi-Wan and Owen and Beru, that somehow it's they had to get sucked into the world between worlds, and they were there for like a long time. And so they aged like 10 more years, and then when they left, were there for 10 years, but then they came back, but it was like an hour. And
maybe, yeah. There's always that theory.
So Luke never knew that they left, but they came back super old. And that's why.
Or the fact that they work outside and they have 2 suns beaming on them. I think that would do it.
Possibly.
Because sun does age you. If you're out of the sun all day, you look a lot older than like that's too much vitamin D.
You can't have too much vitamin D.
I wonder if you could though.
It's always about, you need as much as possible. Like vitamin D from the sun does more better than like caffeine in the morning. Like if you go
Oh
running
yeah, for
outside
sure.
or something in the sun, it's better for you than coffee or something. I don't know. I don't do either, so I can't say. All right. Thank you, Owen, for that question. But last up, from our good and faithful friend who is always there for us, Will. So let's take a listen from
Oh, I
Will.
thought it was Addie. Where's this Addie? Where you at?
She's probably still watching it right now, dude.
Hey, Empire Radio. Will here. If you couldn't tell by my enthusiastic voice, I have a very enthusiastic question for you. This will get pretty deep, but what motivates you?
Oh Lord.
Like, what motivates you to get through your day, through work, maybe? Just in general, what motivates you, and why?
There you go, Drew. Perfect question for you.
Star Wars.
Star Wars, what? You know, not your wife and
No,
kid.
I would say probably for sure it's my wife and my kid. I wouldn't be working as hard as I do if I didn't have those two to rely on. So yeah, probably my wife and my kid. Jeremiah's his clone trooper behind him.
Yep, this kid back here, really easy to take care of. I don't know. I just got bills to pay, so that's motivation to go to work and get through the day. Life. I don't know. Just, you know, to afford just to be on my own, like just so I can like do stuff that I want to do, like the podcast and stuff. It's just cool to like have the fans to like motivate me to like make content and push stuff out. And if it wasn't for you fans, I wouldn't be reading all these Star Wars books, believe it or not. So that's
True.
motivation. So it's just like kind of like motivation to like grow the podcast. Like it's fun just to like put the work in. So it's like obviously we're kind of limited in what we can do just because we're limited in resources and time. So it's like we're not like full time, but
we do our best.
Yeah. So
we hope you guys like it.
Yeah. So I don't need to have the biggest podcast in the world. I just want to put out content that the viewers and listeners and watchers like. So yeah, but I do it for the fans.
But there's a lot of ways to make us a biggest podcast in the world. Jeremiah, what are they?
Well, if you want to get connected to us, go in the description below wherever you're listening. There's a links.co/Empire Radio. Click that link. It's a landing page for everything. So Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitch. Invite for the Discord. A link for the voicemails. If you've never sent in a voicemail, send us a voicemail. Let us know your theories about Bad Batch. What do you think is going to happen? Also, there is a link to needlesslynerdy.com, which is a podcast network that we were part of, or an entertainment network, I should say, that we're part of. There's all kinds of nerdy content over there, so go click that link for all that stuff.
And
I think that's everything.
A link to our sponsors, so go check out that too if you guys want to help us.
There's a link in there for the
I think
coffee.
so.
I should probably double check that. I don't think I ever say that every week, but wesleyandrews.cc.
Yeah.
Go check that out for
your coffee needs.
Your coffee and or tea needs.
And it's a fun way to support us.
Yeah. All right. Cool. Well, thank you to everyone who sent in voicemails via audio or email. Please, anyone listening, never sent in a voicemail, send us a voicemail. Use the link below to go do that. A lot of fun.
Yes.
Anything else, Drew?
No, I'm excited for next week. I'm kind of sad that we got so much this week and we're only going to get 30 minutes next week. Or
maybe
20,
next week will be 45 minutes or something.
That'd be nice.
That'd be cool.
That'd be cool. But we also get Avatar tomorrow, so I'm excited for that.
That is too. So I got to add it to this thing, so hopefully I can get this edited fast so I can watch at least 1 or 2 episodes tomorrow night, but we'll see how it goes.
Well, so yeah, if you guys want to check a podcast breakdown on that, make sure you guys go to our YouTube.
Yep. So we'll be
doing
subscribe
that over there.
Probably that first weekend in March, which is just a week and a half away. our Avatar live action series review should be up. So go check that out because we love Avatar: The Last Airbender here at Empire Radio.
Dave Filoni's first love.
Oh, not his first love, but one of them. I think
One of
one
them.
of his first things was King of the Hill.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah. All right, cool. Let's get out of here. So you've been listening to another Bad Batch-tastic episode of Empire Radio. I'm Jeremiah.
I'm Drew.
And may the Force be with you.
Always.